Lengo siku zote limekuwa kuishi maisha daisi. What I just said in Swahili is the goal has always been to live a simple life. Now, on my journey of trying to get back to Kenya, I've dropped a lot of different videos explaining to you guys why I would want to move back and all that. But there's a big piece of it that kind of speaks to my personality, and I kind of wanted to lay that out to you guys for you guys to understand how, even though I live in New York City and there's nothing simple about this current life that I'm living, the goal is still a simple life, and I want to touch on that. Let's go. So, where do we start? Where do we start? I would say the first inkling and urge to live a simple life for me started right after high school. I'm talking about right when we were graduating and everyone's thinking about going to college and stuff. I truly wanted to buy a van and go live in a van and travel the country. Like, this is before it was cool to live in your van. This is before van life. This is before people lived in their cars out of necessity, right? I was already on YouTube watching people living these simple lives. People who were living off grid, on grid, in the boonies, in the mountains, in the valleys, you name it. I was already drawn to that lifestyle, right? But realistically, I was like, bro, I can't even afford a van right now. I gotta go college and do stuff and make money to, build a life so I could get back to the simple stuff. But to add on to that train of thought, I wanted to live in a van. I was like, okay, that's not really feasible. But once I got out of college and I started working a job, the idea of buying land here in America and just moving out to the middle of nowhere and living a simple life really started to draw me. Over the past, I would say, 2 to 3 years, I've gone to multiple different properties, both here in upstate New York and out in Pennsylvania, Pocono areas. I've also gone into surrounding areas. Ah, big ass bug. Okay, my bad. I've gone into surrounding areas looking for land. And the reason this comes about is because I truly don't like the idea of being tied to a mortgage. I'm young. I don't have any mortgage right now. But this idea that I sign a piece of paper and I owe somebody a check every month for for the next 30 years of my life? Are you kidding me? No. I can't mentally commit to that right now. I was this close a few years ago to actually buying a house. I had been pre-approved and everything, getting ready to, settle down and actually establish something. But then I was like, this isn't me. I don't want this. I don't want this burden over my shoulders of I have to commit to this. I can't just up and leave to Kenya if I want to. Once you sign that mortgage, you gotta first sell the house or find a tenant and do all this stuff. I just didn't want to be tied. So the burdens of the modern world we live in, where it's like if you live in a city or suburbs, you're gonna need a mortgage, you're gonna need a what's it called, a car note, you're gonna need insurance, you're gonna need all these things that I really never cared about. I just wanted to be able to wake up, breathe, and decide what do I want to do today. Where do I want to go? Do I want to go explore somewhere? Do I want to go to a new state, a new park, a new lake to just lounge out all day? I wanted that option. And buying land is actually pretty affordable in America, depending on where you're looking. Now, I want to actually get into that aspect. As expensive as America is, don't get me wrong. This especially this city. I think this is the most expensive city in the world, if I'm not wrong. As expensive as America is, there's a surprising amount of cheap land for sale all around the country. People don't know this part. People think that America is just all pricey and big dollar bills. You would be surprised that when you go to rural places, the Ohio's, Pennsylvania's, the upstate New York's, the Maines, all those parts of the country that you don't hear being spoken about, Idaho, Wisconsin, the middle of nowhere states, land is actually pretty cheap out there. And when I say cheap, I mean in the sense of I can pick up maybe 10, 15, 20 acres. Even there's places that I've seen 150 acres 200 acres going for sale for like 200, $300,000, $400,000. The same price that somebody pays for a house in different parts of this country, you can go ahead and buy like 100 acres of land, depending on how rural you go. So let's rewind again. I've explained to you guys that land is pretty cheap. Explained to you guys that at first I wanted to move into a van. Then I was like, that's not really feasible. I wanted to buy some land. And I started looking at land. I started going to upstate New York, going to PA, going to all these places. And I was also very close to buying land too. I had gotten a realtor. I had gotten all these different things in place. And I was getting ready to sign on the dotted line and start paying for a small parcel out there. But reality hit. Reality hit. So let me kind of explain this simple life. Before I landed on Kenya, it was simplify life here. Don't get tied to too many things while stacking up your bread. Remember, I was working a remote tech job. So I was like, if I could live in the woods and make tech money and lower my bills as much as possible, I'd have been stacking bread left and right. But I wasn't that disciplined. I really wasn't that disciplined. So I ended up asking myself, realistically, this simple life you're setting up, how happy are you going to be to set that up here? Like, because I've always told myself I would be willing to live in Kenya, but everyone around you always tells you, oh no, that's, bro, set up something here in America first, establish yourself first. All these arbitrary, stupid goals, in my opinion, that don't pertain to me. If you want to establish yourself in America first, you do that. You do that. I'm me. I'm going to live my life, okay? If I don't want to buy any land here first, and I'm not going to buy any land. If I don't want to buy a house here, I'm not going to buy a house. I'm going to do what I want to do. So, when I came to the realization that I was like, okay, I'm done with this tech stuff. I want to actually pursue what I want to pursue. I've always wanted to live a simple life. I've always wanted to unplug, get off the grid, have the government off my neck, have all these extra services that you have to pay for and bills, get all those things off my neck. Always wanted that. But realistically, I would rather build that in Kenya. So I stopped listening to people. I stopped listening to what everyone would say. And I said to myself, if you're going to establish something, establish it where you want. Establish it when you want. Not on people's timings. Not these arbitrary things of you should build a life first before you worry about Kenya. A whole bunch of people say that. A whole bunch of people say, yo, build a life in America first before you I'm like, yo, shut up. You go build your life somewhere else first. Where are these arbitrary goals coming from? I have a citizenship. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use my citizenship to the extent that I can use it. I'm going to go start to set up the life that I truly want. And if that doesn't work out, guess what? I got that blue piece of cardboard, paper, whatever you call a passport. I'll be right back in America. I've paid my taxes long enough here. They better let me back in. So, I don't even know where this rant is going. But overall, I wanted you guys to understand that I've always wanted a simple life. Whether that simple life is built here or built in Kenya, I want the simple life. That's the goal. Even though I talk about all these business ideas, which I will pursue, the actual end goal is Jimmy on a farm with his land and nobody knows I exist. As much as I love YouTube, I am not somebody who really cares for fame. I'm doing this to document my journey, right? I want to be able to watch this when I'm 30 and 40 and 50, right? I have no idea how this is going to play out. So, I think that's it. I think I've talked quite a lot on this video. Kind of explained to you guys that I've wanted to live in a van. I wanted to live in the woods. It wasn't feasible. I don't want to buy a house. And I told myself, I'm like, bro, you've always wanted to do this in Kenya. Why are you forcing yourself to do it here first? Why are you forcing yourself to first establish here? And then I came to the realization of like, you're not living life for these people. You're living life for you. You're building this simple life for you. But that's the gist of this video. I hope a lot of y'all can understand that even though I live in the Big Apple, probably one of the fastest paced cities in America, deep down inside this guy's heart, He's a nature baby. I want to wake up and hear the birds. I want to wake up and look at my horse that I probably don't even know how to ride, but be like, yeah, I got a horse. I want to look at my donkey and my cow, smell the fresh air, feel the leaves crack under my feet and thorns poke into my thick calluses. You guys get the point. I am a nature baby at heart, and if you were to throw me in the woods with a nice piece of land where I could survive on my own, I would take it in a heartbeat. But, you know, we live in reality and we live in 2025, and we sadly have to go through all these other places before we can get back to simple living. You know, this used to be natural back in the day, before the world advanced, before we were worried about lights and electricity. We naturally lived on land, off the land. But now I have to hustle my way back to a simple life. That's crazy to me. That's actually crazy. I want you guys to think about that. You have to work yourself back to the simple life. That's how modern we are. But at the end of the day, I'm going to do that back in Kenya. I ain't doing the whole property taxes stuff. The fact that I can't really own my land here just really turns me off. But that's the end of this video. I love you all. I hope a lot of you are also chasing the simple life, and you guys can follow along with me on this journey. I will see you on the next video. I love y'all, and bye.